Hi everybody, welcome back to our van build series. I am Mike and this is Sir Cedric, our 1988 Mercedes T1 Bremer, which we currently convert into a camper van. Today we want to build the walls and the floor of the van, and we will use a similar technique like we did for the ceiling. That means we will install a wooden subframe, avoid screws in the metal, install a proper insulation and then a rather lightweight floor panel. And of course, for the final floor design, we will have something very special again. But after this sneak peek, let's go back to the beginning and let me show you step by step what exactly we did. We started with the installation of lots of rivet nuts in preferably factory original holes. These rivet nuts are perfect to install a subframe, but also directly furniture and wall panels. Then it's time to insulate the walls. First Alubutyl against noise, then Armaflex AF for thermal insulation. I don't want to repeat my arguments for both materials in this video. You can find them in detail in my first video about the ceiling, which should be linked in one of the corners up here. Additionally, we mounted 3 wall subframes on each side of the van. These solid slats already got anchor nuts to make them a perfect base for mounting my wall units later. And we attach the subframe to the van with bolts into the rivet nuts. That's absolutely bomb-proof. As the walls of a Mercedes T1 are quite jagged, it's a bit of a challenge to get a completely closed surface without any gaps that would be thermal bridges, but finally we managed it and covered all joints with 3mm Armaflex tape. All the remaining areas which still show red metal will finally also be covered with Armaflex. We were running out of material and the new order hasn't arrived yet. The actual wall panel will be 4mm poplar plywood, but that's something to install at a much later time then. Now down to the floor. Before we can really start with the floor panel, we have to deal with an old problem. That are all the holes in the floor, which come from the rivet bolts of the old aluminium floor, which used to be in the fire truck. And if you have seen my old videos, you know I grinded the floor, then I used anti-rust primer and paint. Additionally, for every hole, I used Owatrol oil and Brantho Korrux Nitrofest. That is a black primer, and that's the reason why all the holes now have these decorative black edges. And to make the holes also waterproof, I will now apply Korroflex, that's a sealant, and then we should be ready for the floor panel. And of course, all the products are always linked in the description below. And then we have to cut all our new holes, and there are plenty. The mandatory hole for the propane gas bottle. In Germany that has to be 100 square centimeters, so usually 10 by 10 centimeter. In our case 6 by 23 centimeter. The hole for the diesel heater. The 2 holes for the wastewater pipes. The hole for the toilet ventilation. And the holes for shore power and reverse camera. Of course, never forget to properly treat every cut with primer and paint. After all this destruction, we can start building the floor, and we use these 27mm spruce wood slats in the recessed channels as a base for the floor. There is a reason to choose exactly these 27mm, because together with 2mm of glue we get 29mm, which are the same 29mm like neighboring elevated area, which is 10mm higher, plus 19mm Armaflex AF for insulation. I don't want to lose any millimeter of interior height, but I also don't want to compress the Armaflex insulation. The bigger holes get wooden frames for extra support. Then we paint the wood with Osmo Decor Wax. As floor panel we use 9mm resin covered plywood. In Germany that's called Siebdruckplatten, and I know that most van builders use thicker panels, but I want to stay lightweight and fight for every millimeter of interior height, and with my kind of subframe I think the 9mm should be okay. Getting the correct measurements is always a bit nerve-wracking, especially these round wheel arches are a bit difficult. but with cardboard templates it's finally not too complicated. Cutting with the jigsaw is then the easy part of the job. But of course we also have to copy all the holes and don't want to make any mistakes. These resin-coated plywood panels have a waterproof surface, which makes them ideal floor panels for a van conversion. But the edges are not waterproof, so better add some protection here, like our black lacquer. For installing the wooden slats we use Sika 552 as heavy-duty assembly adhesive. For a solid bond it's necessary to clean the surface with silicone remover and make sure to have at least 1 or 2 millimeters of glue. That's why I put some plastic washers as spacers under the slats. After the slats are in place, we add the floor panel and a few heavy items. By the way, this is our new 125-liter freshwater tank, which we will later install in the van. We waited now 2 days for the glue to cure, probably more than necessary, and now you could just use screws to fix the floor panel on the subframe slats, but I prefer anchor nuts and bolts because first I can unscrew them as often as I want or need, and second because they are perfect to fix the furniture, and again with the possibility to easily remove the furniture at a later time if I have to do that. For drilling we fix the floor panel with a few screws, then I drill holes for M6 bolts. After that we remove the panels to enlarge the holes in the subframe slats for the anchor nuts. We installed a total of 100 anchor nuts. This should be more than enough to mount all furniture 100% bomb-proof. Insulation of the floor is still missing. Now it's time to fill the area between the slats with 19mm Armaflex AF. With the insulation fully installed, the tan wood and black Armaflex looks so stylish that it's nearly a pity to cover the timber framing under the floor panel when nobody will ever see it again. Before we finally install the floor panel, we cover the joints between the slats and the Armaflex with vapor sealed tape. Now the panels can finally come back into the van and the floor is finished except for a decorative surface. We want a surface which can easily be cleaned and which can handle moisture without problem. Also we need a very thin material because we don't want to lose any centimeter of our precious headroom and we want to save weight. So vinyl was the obvious choice, but a lot of vinyl floors look very much like plastic and we didn't like that. So with a lot of research we finally found this product, and this is absolutely cool and amazing because it looks like real wood and it even has the texture of real old wood, and all of that just with a thickness of 2 millimeters. And yeah, this product is from a German manufacturer called Gerflor. It's called Michigan from the Creation 55 product line. And yeah, if you want to check it out, it's of course in the description below. What's left for us to do now is glue that to the floor, because if you don't glue that, it's a risk that you get kinks and bubbles that wouldn't work in a camper van. And yeah, we will use that only in the living area, not in the garage in the back, because there we will just leave the painted resin coated plywood, at least for the moment. That's good enough. And yeah, maybe I should tell you how we applied the paint. We sanded the resin coated plywood with a 220 sandpaper very gently, and then we applied this special paint for resin coated plywood from Alpidex with a roller, and yeah, that was a very easy process, and the panels look better now than the resin coated plywood without paint. Well, I think enough for this video. Please leave a comment what you think about our wall and floor setup, and yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and both of that of course would really help for the YouTube algorithm. See you next time.